You're listening to Women Who Badass Radio, where we interview high-achieving women to find out how they achieved their stellar results. Hey everybody, welcome to Women Who Badass Radio. I'm Crystal Covington, and I am here with Monika Bhasin. She is the CEO and founder of GLYD, an app connecting travelers with locals who help them build unique itineraries for their travel adventures. Trust me, it is totally cool. I checked it out. She grew up in a small village in India with no running water and now lives in Los Angeles running her own self-funded startup. Because of her journey, she now helps others identify the invisible fences that become hurdles to our growth. I'm so excited to have this powerful conversation. Monika, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Crystal. I'm so excited to be here and share my journey with your audience and your listeners. I'm super happy to share, my journey and like what I have learned and just spread it basically like a ripple effect.
It's so great. To get us going, if you want to share a little bit more about your journey and the experiences that you've had that you feel are important for the audience to know before we start chatting about the topic, I'd love for you to do that.
Yeah, from very young age, I always had this sense of, that I can do anything. And, we have this sense when we're kids. I think like beyond 7 years of age, we let the environment affect our way of thinking, our way of doing. But I don't know what and why it's just stuck with me always that I can do anything that I put my mind to. So I really feel that, we must really take all those feelings that we have when we are younger to really keep with us, to really persevere in times of challenges when we're older. Because I think, as kids, we are so much more in tune with ourselves. And as we get older, we have so many pressures from society, from our peers, from families, that we kind of forget. And we need to harness those emotions and that energy and those thoughts back into our lives. And we need to, do little things like small little meditations. And, meditations can be in people's own form. I listen to positive videos on YouTube. I have my own like power music list on Spotify. So I think, people need to do little things to really harness that energy that they had when they were kids.
I think that's so powerful. I remember when I was a little girl, and granted, the memories are fuzzy, but I feel like I had so much more, I wasn't nervous about being myself. And I think as I got older, I had so many things to hold me back, so many stories that I started to gather, and it takes time before that starts to kick in, and then you see yourself making choices very differently than you would have if you had that open-mindedness of childhood.
When we are younger, we are much more freer to be ourselves. And I think we just need to, get in tune with that feeling again. And, what we feel is what we remember the most. Everything, every moment, every event in our life that has feelings attached to it, that's what we remember the most, whether it's positive or negative. So if we have some negative events, that, is going to trigger a certain feeling, and that's going to keep us from doing certain things because how we felt last time it happened didn't make us feel good. So we stay away from those things. So, whether it be nervousness or, interviewing for jobs or going out and doing things for the first time, whatever it was. And I think we need to compile a list of more positive feelings and events and really let go of the negative ones.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to know a little bit more about your career and journey. So I have a dozen questions, but I've narrowed it down to a few. And first off, I want to talk about the career change that you made, because you started off as a pharmaceutical scientist, which sounds super complex and unique. I've never met a pharmaceutical scientist, to be honest, in my entire life. And now you're leading a tech startup, which is a very different world. So what was the catalyst that sent you on the journey for that change, and how did you manage to take a big leap like that?
Well, like I was talking about family pressures and societal environmental pressures, I kind of succumbed to those when I was growing up, and my parents wanted me to be a doctor. So I set out to be on this path of studying medicine, and something clicked when I was in the third year of my college, where I decided that is not what I want to do. So, I then ended up just taking a biochem degree because that's where most of my credits were, and ended up being a scientist for a big pharmaceutical company. And I just kept, there was something inside me that told me I didn't want to do that, but there was also a bigger part of me that wanted to please my parents. And I think that's just never going to go away. It's just the way I understand it today is so different than the way I understood it when I was 18, 19 years, or not 19, but when I got out of college. I still wanted to please my parents. Their happiness was so important to me, and wanted to get their approval. And I think all kids want to do that. And there was a time, after a couple of years being in that position, where I felt so unhappy and depressed, because I wasn't happy doing what I was doing. It was so isolating. It had totally, increased my introvertedness, and I just was so unhappy. And I don't remember exactly the moment, but I know it. I hated it to a like there was a point where I hated it so much that I needed to go quit the job and do something else.
Mm-hmm.
And I did. I quit my job and I went into New York Film Academy and signed up for a year of acting.
Wow, that is such a different direction.
Exactly. And, I did that because, either because some of my friends that I was in touch with, they said you need to do something different, totally out of your comfort zone. And that seemed like the most thing out of my comfort zone. It was, totally not isolating. It was you're put in front of people and expected to pretend to be somebody else and play out a different part. And as much as scary as it was just as liberating. Like I did not, I felt like I was doing something that I was not going to be judged on, because it wasn't really me who I was playing on stage or in front of the class. So I was doing such a different thing, and I think that was one of my um, most important things I've ever done in my life, because I learned so much during that 1 year of acting. There was so much growth happening inside, that is one of the most instrumental, I guess, parts I've ever played in the stage of life in my life. And that has helped me develop, you know what my feelings are, really helped me identify them, and really helped me grow internally. And it's just that leap was, I had some security, I had saved up some money, but then I also realized that if I can get this job once, I can definitely do it again. So I had that self-belief, so to say, like, okay, I'm going to quit this job, but it's not like I'm never going to get a job again. Like, I know
Right.
it all depends on me. And I always had this feeling about myself that it can turn out to be a bad thing, but I try to utilize it as positively as I can. But I always had the sense of I am the only one responsible for my life. Like, I can't depend on anyone else to get me a job, to do anything else. I have to do it.
Yeah.
And I don't know where that comes from, but I just always had that. And perhaps it does come from maybe my past. I was raised without my parents. My grandmother raised me in a village, like, you mentioned earlier on, where we had no bathrooms, no running water or electricity. So everything was so different that when I came to the States, it was just so, full of opportunities that I didn't feel like there was anything that would stop me from doing whatever I wanted to do. And I think that, that self-belief is just so important, no matter what you undertake. And if you don't believe that you can do it, then, you probably won't be able to. It's just like everything starts with you. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of things in my life have always reassured me that, yes, it does start with me. I cannot rely on other people, or I cannot, like, a lot of times we tend to play the blame game. And, it's sometimes it's okay because we're going through some emotions, and that's how we take it out. But, there has to come, like a time where you understand that, you are responsible. I am responsible for my own life, my own actions, even my happiness. Like nobody else is responsible for my happiness. Happiness is work. And I realized that in the past few years, I always used to feel like I'm so depressed. I don't have any, good relationships and this and that. And I realized it's an effort that's going to take from me. I have to make these effort. I have to make an effort to be happy. I have to make an effort to find things that I enjoy. And I have to say that my husband has helped me a lot in recognizing that and, in building that awareness.
Mm-hmm. That partnership is definitely I feel like that partnership is so key, whether it comes from friends or a family member or a spouse. Just having someone that believes in you it just makes such a difference.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, it's okay if there's just that one person in like a swarm of 100 people that believes in you. You just stick to that one person because that person is looking out for you and it thinks the best for you. And this is why it's so important to surround yourself with people who are looking out for you and who want the best for you, who want you to succeed. Oftentimes we get stuck in circles of friends that are not like that. And it's very important for you to become aware of that fact and then make effort to change it because only you can change it.
Yeah, I love that. I love the fact that you did something different in between the two pieces of your career of, going from scientist to tech startup. And what I realize is I think those transitions really help us probably emotionally and, really resettle our minds and reset us. And I think part of what it did, I've taken some acting classes and improv and things like that. And what it does is really help you to realize that there's other stories that you can be told and you can change the way that you feel or behave based on just physical actions of what you're doing when you're going through this process of taking on a different character. It's kind of freeing in a way.
Absolutely. And that year, that time that I was doing this, it helped me so much now as the founder CEO to basically relay my message of GLYD to the world. And when I talk at conferences or I talk on other stages or talk to other people, I feel so confident. They say this in acting, but nobody knows your lines except you. So nobody knows if you messed up or anything. So that, when I talk on stage or talk to other people, that was constantly running through my head. Like nobody knows what I'm going to say. It's all in my head. So even if I think I flubbed on something, nobody knows that. So, everything that I've done in my life, it has helped me to get to the next level in one way or another. So even though acting was very instrumental in helping me grow internally, it was very helpful in, being a CEO and founder because when I pitch in front of investors, I go through this line. Nobody knows what my lines are. No, they don't know what I'm saying is true. I mean, obviously all my, whatever I talk about are facts, but the way I say it, nobody knows if I'm saying it the right way or the wrong way, and it helped me so much. So, everything you have to take everything in your life that you do, it's always making you go one step further and it's always going to help you and it's going to build that experience, that block of experience that you might need in the future, and your life is always understood in hindsight in the past, but, it's always lived forward. So you always have to have faith in yourself that, okay, well, I'm going through this challenging time right now. I must need to learn something from this because that's the only reason I'm going through it. And this is going to come in handy. This is going to help me in some way or form later on in my life. And I have, I've gone through some challenging times and I have always come to, refer back to them as a point where I learned to deal with the situation because of those challenging times. Like every single moment, Crystal, I do not regret even a single second in my life. I would not live it any other way because everything made me who I am. And I wish that, anybody who's listening to this, when you're going through some challenging time, ask yourself, what am I to learn from this? Because that's the question you should be asking, because you in 10 years or 5 years are going to realize that you are better able to manage your feelings or a job or a position because you went through a challenging time in the past. And I'm sure, I take these moments as like proof, right? Also in my back pocket that I can pull out any moment whenever I'm going through any other challenging times. I pull it out and I'm like, well, I went through that. I can do this, I can deal with this, it's like little proofs of confidence. Like, you can do this. And I want anybody who's listening to make a little jar of all the things that you've gone through. And whenever you're going through a challenging time, pull a slip out and be like, wow, well, I went through that. I can definitely go through what I'm going through now. It's like building you up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's powerful. So I feel like that brings us to the next piece of what I wanted to talk about, which is really your concept of these invisible fences. And you talked about it in your TED Talk, and I want to kind of talk about it today. We all have them. And for myself, I've personally been discovering these for the past several years and trying to work through them. Just understanding that I have them has been helpful in knowing, okay, this is just a story I'm believing.
Right.
But it impacts, how we define ourselves, how we manage our money, how, we manage all the different factors of our lives. So I want to find out, how did those show up for you, and what advice can you share for others to get free of those?
Well, like you said, I think acknowledging them and being aware of them is tremendous. Just knowing that, well, I'm doing this action or I'm having this reaction because, in my mind, this is the tape that I've been playing over the past, all my life. But this is not reality. This is what I believe. And so, acknowledging those things, it's hard, it's tough, but slowly, take accountability for the things that you do, and you're going to come, you're going to find a pattern that when a certain type of thing happens, you either react a certain way or you do something a certain way. And just finding that pattern and realizing, okay, there must be something here, because every time this happens, I'm unhappy, or I do this, that ends up getting me more unhappy. And really fine tuning, how you can make subtle changes to those habits to overcome those invisible fences. And I would advise anybody who's listening to this to reach out to other people, and really having an open mind to finding all these fences within yourselves. A lot of times we're so closed off, and we really need to open up and be ready to open up to finding these invisible fences within our minds. And I think sometimes having friends or other other people who are going through similar things helps us figure stuff out within our own minds. Like, if I see someone else, like for example, a few years ago, I had one of my cousin sisters from India come here to the States, and she had so many invisible fences. So helping her get through her invisible fences helped me get through or acknowledge or even find my invisible fences, the few that I still have. And I'm always going to have them. It's always managing and reworking the way I'm thinking. So, sometimes you might feel like so overwhelmed that you have so many things that, there may come time where you're like, wow, I've been believing all these false realities all my life. And it's okay. Do not feel overwhelmed. Write them down. And then, whenever you have a reaction a certain way, go back and refer to, what you have believed all your life, and start changing that belief slowly. I've really found some YouTube videos really, really helpful in helping me understand how our mind works and how we can change small things to build up better habits and to really start thinking positively and really being more aware of ourselves. So I think, when you do that, you really open up, the window into yourself.
Yeah, I love what you've shared. And it made me think about what helps me as well with getting through those things in my life. And one of the things that helps me is having a partner on the journey. Again, it doesn't have to be a husband or, any sort of spouse or partner or anything like that. But for me, it's my husband, and he'll remind me by asking. So if I'm making a choice and he's just challenging it sometimes, and will just question me and say, well, Crystal, is this because of this story that you hold? And I'll say, I don't have any story. What are you talking about? And then he'll remind me, well, we've talked about this, and it sounds like you hold a story on that. And he'll call me out and ask me to evaluate. And that really helps. It's just those little moments of asking myself, is this a real thing? Is this really the best choice? Or is this a choice I'm making because of a story that I'm holding that makes me fear moving forward, or makes me fear taking certain actions that are just unfamiliar to me at the time?
Right. Yeah. I mean, we're so afraid of the unknown, right? So, just taking those unfamiliar actions, maybe it'll lead you to something else, and maybe it'll lead you to exactly what you want, or something that you want, but you don't know that you wanted it. You won't know until you take that action and take that step forward. And, people don't need, like you said, it doesn't always have to be a spouse. It could be a friend. It could be a sister. It could be a brother. It could be somebody that you find trust in, and you can trust them to tell you when you are behaving or reacting a certain way. And you won't react back to that, curiosity of them. Like your husband is curious like you just described. It's just curiosity, and intriguing that curiosity within yourself about why you're taking that action.
I like that, how you defined it as curiosity, because yes, it's just a questioning. It's not an accusation. It's just, is this, have you thought about this? And I think that takes pressure off of it as well, of not just saying, no wagging fingers. Oh, I think this is one of those limiting beliefs coming back on you. It's, hey, have you thought about this? Just want to make sure that you've considered the stories that you might be holding, and whether or not they're impacting the way you make this decision. And are there other choices that maybe you haven't thought about because of those stories that you currently believe, or the fences you believe are around you? Right. I always think about that story of that, I'm probably going to get it wrong. It's like this old story of a fox where some sort of animal that's like a predatory animal, and they put some food in an area and put like one edge of a fence around him. The next day, he comes back for the food again, and then they add another area of fencing, and then they continue this until they finally have a fence all the way around him, and he's fine because there was food there. And it's just one of those things where you don't even notice these things come around you, but that space that you were in created safety for you. So then you end up just sticking around, and you don't even realize that there's a little fort that's been built around you, keeping you in there. Right. And it may not always be a safe space for you anymore, but you've kind of built that around yourself, or allowed other people to build it around you.
Exactly. That's totally right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, leading in, we had a great discussion on that. I really appreciate you bringing that up, and the fact that you help and support people to notice those. And I want to talk about and make sure that we highlight the business that you have, and tell the story of GLYD and the journey to building the startup, and what you're doing and how that impacts the world, because it seems like a really interesting. I love the fact that I don't know if it's meant to be a social enterprise, but it sounds like it has a little bit of a social enterprise aspect in helping to raise economies in areas where people wouldn't necessarily always think to travel.
Yeah, so the idea of GLYD came to me when I was traveling a little bit, and what I realized was that I came back feeling disconnected from the place that I just went to. And I didn't feel like I connected with the culture. It was just great, looking at the monuments or attractions, but really I wasn't able to mix in with the people and really see the heart of the city with that are people and that make up the culture. And so I realized that, maybe I'm not the only one. So I sent out like a survey in my social circle, and turns out a lot of people feel the same way, that when they travel somewhere, they don't really get to know the actual culture and traditions of that place. And I started to, work on this idea of how to build a community where you actually get to meet the locals, meet people, and really see the way they live their life, like a window into their life. And I believe that, a community is what we really need, where the locals of, the most unknown places or anywhere in the world really can showcase and put their local talent on on the stage of the world. And that way, people who are, who are looking for inspiration but are afraid to travel to unknown places, they actually get a window into that local place where they've been always wanting to go, but they don't know anyone. Because a lot of times in the past, or if you ask anybody, people travel to places that they have friends, living there, or somebody had told them this is where they need to go.
Mm-hmm.
But what GLYD does is actually puts you in touch with the people who live there. So you can see and like get rid of that fear of the unknown and really inspire you to travel and go meet that person that you connected with so well. And really that's, we as humans, I believe, have this internal desire to connect with another human being. And I believe that's the reason we travel. I believe that's the reason we do anything that we do in our lives. And when we do get disconnected, that's when we, a lot of, I believe, this is my opinion, I believe there's a lot of depression that happens. There's a lot of, that's when all these other diseases can, take hold. So I really want to spread that inner desire that we have as humans to connect with other people and lift that veil of fear and allow people from, who are sitting thousands of miles away, a peek into a local life thousands of miles away, and really, get inspired, connect with the local, and get up and book a ticket to that place and go meet that person. And, I really want to, provide those locals, who are getting affected by this huge tourism industry to be benefited somehow as well. So what GLYD does is, it's somewhat like a Pinterest meet TripAdvisor. A lot of people are calling us Instagram meets TripAdvisor, but I think it's a little bit more like Pinterest, where you post pictures about your locale, and what you can do with those pictures is when you go to your profile, you can create an instant itinerary and take the pictures that you've posted and basically pin them into the itinerary board as if like your favorite spots to have cake in your city, or if you were to suggest a day in your local city, these are the few things that you would do to really experience my local city. And in the summer, we're introducing in-person experiences where, you can actually add on the local person, hire them on these itineraries. So, if you want to go on a food tour, you can hire the person who created the food tour to show you around, because they're the ones who are passionate about about these places. So you actually get to meet locals, connect with them, and live a life, like a day with them. So, really, I believe that travel and connecting really makes us a little bit more compassionate. It rids us of bigotry and discrimination, and because we have all these emotions, and of things that we don't understand. So when we understand and experience these traditions and understand how and why people do certain things, we have more compassion. We have more respect for their land. I can even think of like why people would stop littering, because travelers a lot of times don't understand how different countries like behave with littering and whatnot. And I really feel that with GLYD, people are going to gain a lot more respect for different lands and different cultures and different people.
Yeah,
and that's really what I want to spread.
That's absolutely powerful. And one of my favorite things, and it began years back when when I first started traveling as an adult, and we would find someone, and usually it was a friend in the beginning, of finding a friend and just saying, hey, show me what you really do. And it wasn't, it was just so much better than focusing on things like the tourist attractions and things like that. So getting away from the tourist attractions and seeing what the people who really live there do. And my first time going to New York was amazing because we didn't do anything touristy. I was I was almost ashamed when I came back and people would say, well, did you see the Statue of Liberty? I said, yeah, from afar. Or, I didn't do those things, but I did visit the, Fat Black Pussycat or something like that. I went to these different places where they took us, it might be a hole in the wall bar or just, something that, a place that resonated and they have stories to tell about it. And it was just so fun. And even going to the first overseas adventure of doing that was in China. And it was a woman it was in Hong Kong, and we met a woman at the airport. And she looked at us, we were lost, and we just started a conversation and said, we don't know anything about this place and we don't know what to do. She says, well, WhatsApp me and we'll get connected. And then she took us on a tour because she grew up there. She spoke Cantonese, and we could go around and walk around with her, and we got to see real China and where people live, not just the hotel and the little areas around that and tourist things. So it was just so great. And then we connected with someone that we still keep in touch with, an amazing woman, and now feel safe when we go to other places to do the same and find someone that is friendly and connected and maybe came on the same airplane as us to, take us around and see new things, because that's when you learn about other cultures. That's when you see outside of the box that we're given. And all the tourist attractions, I swear, no matter what country you're in, they seem very similar and they give you a similar kind of experience. You gotta walk off. You have to go off script to meet real people and see how they live.
And you are surrounded by people who don't know, usually the language, who don't, who are just like you, who are tourists themselves. So even if you really wanted to connect with people, you're not really going to connect with the people in that place, and it's really eye-opening when you actually hang out with a local and go around where they do. And that's exactly the experience that I'm trying to, we're trying to provide here with GLYD is, really immersive cultural experience. And really want you now, now that lady in China if she ever comes to your local city, she knows exactly who to contact. Now we're building like pen pal-like relationships. We're building, a huge network of people who are interconnected somehow, but it's on a global scale. And still that personal feel.
Yeah, I love everything about what you're doing. It sounds so exciting. It sounds so fun. And it's a great way to connect I feel like the future of the world is connecting other humans. And you're connecting other humans to each other in a way that's really unique that I haven't seen yet.
Yeah, I'm really excited. This year is going to be huge for us. We have so many great partnerships in tow, and we are excited to roll out some of these features and get people on board. And, initially right now, even though it's a global platform, we are seeing a lot of traction in Southeast Asia. And I'm so excited because we want to focus in countries where, there's a huge language barrier. In Southeast Asia, a third of the world lives there. And there are like over 300 different languages and dialects. Like, how are you ever going to know what to say and like which dictionary to pick up when you're traveling there? It's better to meet somebody who's a local, who speaks a common language, who can help you navigate. It's just so much easier with somebody who lives there. So we're really excited, and we can't wait to connect people.
Absolutely. Well, what other important messages would you like to share with our audience before we go?
I think one of the takeaways that I would love for the audience to take away is that self-work. I think everything relates and comes back to working on yourself as an individual and really opening yourself up to yourself. Because many times, and I've seen this, people age without even, really asking themselves like who I am. And they live in this false reality of that is full of what the society wants and what, the environment wants. So I really encourage everyone to really look within and grow from within and find that happiness from within, because you're not going to find it anywhere else. And from that, a lot of things stems, a lot of things come up. And this is where the passion that you have for whatever, you want to be passionate about or you are passionate about, that's where you're going to be able to apply that passion. If you really know yourself, you're going to figure out what you're passionate about. You're going to be open enough to find it. And that's how you're going to apply that to whatever you want to do in your life. And that's how you're going to succeed in life.
Beautiful. Thanks for sharing that. And to keep people, I know people are going to want to know more about you. How can we keep in touch with you and follow your business as well?
You can follow me on Instagram. It's at _ Monika Bhasin, MONIKABHASIN. And download GLYD for free and start sharing where you live, and get on that experience that you want to have, or give another person. And you can follow GLYD on Instagram as well at glydapp.com, GLYDAPP. And just to let you guys know, GLYD actually stands for Go Live Your Dream.
Oh.
So GLYD, yeah.
I love that.
I encourage everyone to go live your dreams.
Beautiful. Thanks so much, Monika, for spending time with us and sharing your journey and some of the insights and telling us about your business. And thank you all for tuning in to listen to our conversation. I can't wait to see you again next time. See you soon. Thanks for listening to Women Who Badass Radio. To join our tribe of badass women, visit womenwhobadass.com to sign up for your free trial membership.